How you guys doing? So this is a quick update on the vise, the clamps, and all that, this bar in there. So originally I was running these little tabs, and I was using holes that go into the these members here. See one of them right over there. And obviously, like, that's not really sufficient, and just the way I was bolting these, because I had to stick a bolt on the other side, I had to do it like this. So I had the long end on this, and like obviously that's not a good approach. So finally was able to make some proper clamps for all this, and made them out of some 1-inch steel. And yeah, the previous couple of videos was just machining these, some high feed machining and stuff. And yeah, they all turned out really well. And after that, I used a flap wheel and orbital sander and the buffing wheel to polish them up. And then after that, I hot blued them. So you can see now they're very dark now. So the hot bluing is going to give it a nice coat of a nice strong coating, and it'll be good for like inhibiting rust and all that. For these tubes here, I welded them on the sides over there. So on 4 sides for each tube. Yeah, I did not weld them here or on the bottom. And overall, that really did not work well at all. These tubes, after you saw in the previous update video, like they have the puck that goes in there where these bolts thread into. After that, I rotated them vertically and then filled them completely with grout. So they are solid in grout as well, just like the rest of the tubes. Unfortunately, even though I looked on the internet to see like how, can you weld stuff like that? Can you TIG weld it? And my answer is no, you cannot. It produces just a horrible mess of porosity. Maybe like if you give it months, like 6 months or so, and try and get rid of all the moisture in that. But as soon as you start heating up that, the moisture in this tube, and possibly this tube as well, it makes its way through the weld, and it just turns into a big giant horrible mess. So yeah, like if you're planning on doing stuff for welding, like I wouldn't have anything that tubes. Do the grouting afterwards. So I had tons of porosity here. I grounded it, re-welded it, all that. Regardless, porosity is everywhere in all those welds. So there's 8 welds. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna forget about it. Like it's enough. After painting it, like it was very apparent that I was gonna have issues with moisture. So I went back with epoxy and filled in the porosity holes. And I also put a slick of epoxy on the top there, so like flood cooling stuff won't make its way down between that seam and then possibly give me issues. So epoxied all those 3 edges per side, so like one there, and then one there, and that cleaned up the porosity holes, so I won't get moisture being built up in there. And I think even though the welds are kind of shit, they're gonna hold for this purpose. Inevitably, I'll probably tear this thing down in some point, maybe a year or so, and when I do that, I'll try and re-weld this stuff and see if I can do a better job after the hopefully like the moisture is going to be less of a problem then. The reason why I polished these things was I wanted to get a nice clean finish where it'd be very difficult for moisture to build up on. So polishing the surface generally helps really well with inhibiting rust, and the oxide layer of the black oxide helps further that. So, and then also there's a slick of whale oil on and everything. So I don't think that this is going to rust at all. When putting in these horizontal tubes, I used a big chunk of aluminum. I don't know where it's behind me, and I use that to fixture this tube in place so it's flat with this side and then this side. And I did that on both sides, and that worked really well for getting these tubes flat with the vise. So I ended up not needing any shims at all. So like this vise there's no shims under it to like change the slope or in any direction. Like it's totally aligned with the machine, surprisingly. I wasn't expecting that, but it's nice to have that happen sometimes. So the few things I have left to do are making some motor holders for all three motors, so on the X and both, and also the Y. And I started that a while ago with a chunk of aluminum for part of this, and I need to just go through and make all those. But now that I have a proper work holding vise set up, that's good to just get this done. At some point I do want to I want to make a vise stop. So the vise stop is going to be probably some kind of swing mechanism that'll swing out this way to get out of the way, and flop back. And it'll be held in by the outside vise jaw bolts. So you can see them on this side. There's holes on the opposite side as well. And then I can put probably some kind of mechanism assembly that'll attach like this and come out on an adjustability thing, so I can adjust this in and out, and then I can just have when I'm working on multiple parts, let's say if I'm doing these, I don't have to dial in the setup again just to figure out where my origin is. I did at some point, I don't know if it was in a previous video, I did machine the perimeter of the vise and also the tops here. This is unnecessary. I just thought may as well. I did this because the height of this was it deviated by 2 millimeters, and I wanted to get the vise clamps to be very consistent, so I machined all that stuff so they're everything's consistent now. So I think that's probably it for this video, and yeah, these things turned out pretty good. Pretty basic design. You got you got a pivot there, and then it's the pressure is on this side, and the bolt is closest to this side as possible, so it's hinging over there, and that could just be done with you just mill out a small little pocket there, and then you got your other pocket there, and that's not it. There's nothing to these things. They're pretty simple to make, and yeah, that's it. I will see you guys next time.